Let's talk about it. Spiteful TikTok tenants from hell purposely sabotage landlord's property because they cannot get their way. Let's get into the clip.
So, welcome to season 1, episode 1 of Nightmare Tenants, featuring Caitlin Poor of Atrium Health and her partner Kathleen Kennedy of DHL Logistics. So, my husband and I, we have a rental property, and it's the home that we brought our kids home in from the hospital, and it's the house that we had planned to actually give to one of our children in the future. Our old tenant of 2
Just want to pause and say shout out to this couple for building generational wealth.
years was moving out, and we actually had a great experience with him. Anytime he had a concern, it was always handled and addressed promptly and professionally by my husband. And ultimately we still have a good relationship now. So this is where we enter Miss Caitlin and Kathleen. They moved in on Super Bowl Sunday, and we're only in the
I love the fact that not only in the beginning of the video, she gave their first and last name and where they work and their occupations. And now that we have their pictures on the screen, so these people are fully exposed. Any landlords watching these videos, if you see these two faces, do not rent. Buyer beware.
property for a week's time. When they moved in, they were informed that there was some paint touch-ups that needed to be completed in the kitchen just due to the removal of the popcorn ceiling. Ultimately, they were unhappy that this didn't happen in the expected timeline, but did express just how grateful they were for my husband's overall communication, especially because they had apparently had a bad experience with a landlord in the past, which
Let's pause it right there. Red flag number one, them mentioning that they had bad experiences with landlords in the past. Um, if that's not foreshadowing, I don't know what is, but it definitely triggers me, not triggers me, but makes me think, did they do their proper due diligence as far as vetting these tenants? Again, if I was renting my property out to anyone, I would definitely need to speak to their previous landlord or property manager so I have a better insight of how they manage their property. Again, when you're renting property, you want to be slow to rent and fast to evict.
should have been foreshadowing maybe. But once they moved in, they had an extremely nitpicky list of demands in their words. They stated that if we did not meet their demands, that they would be moving out. Some of them were a little bit odd. They sent a message stating that they had clogged the toilet with their own human feces and that we would need to take care of it. And that is their wording. And the word
This is already setting up to be a nightmare from hell when a tenant texts you that they backed up the toilet with their own human feces. I mean, what type of bombs are they dropping in there? You know that this is not going to end well.
wording itself kind of just gave me weird vibes. But regardless, their concerns were addressed. They were told that if they wanted to move out, that we would break their lease. But ultimately, they were upset that they weren't going to get their February rent back, in spite of the fact that they were living there in part of February.
If it was me, and just based off the things she mentioned so far, I would have gave them their February rent back and just got them out of here because I mean sometimes you have to see the writing on the wall. You can see that these two are not wired too tight. Just off the number one, the fact that they already had a bad experience with the previous landlord. Okay, a little red flag, but not the end of the world. Then they're sending you a text that they backed up their own toilet with the human feces, and you guys need to deal with it. And then they're very picky and very these all these little demands. It let you know number one, they're very entitled and they're not wrapped too tight. Again, I would have just gave them their February rent back and called it a day. Let me know in the comments below how you would have handled that.
And they said that they would consult with legal counsel and get back to us as to whether or not they were going to remain in the property. They proceeded to use racial slurs, including the N-word, at my husband. So ultimately, he had a bad feeling about the tenants, and he stated that he was going to go out there and just do an inspection on Friday to make sure that everything was the way that it was supposed to be. So he went out on Friday, everything was in place, and fast forward to Monday, we get a call from the neighboring unit. We have a great relationship with all of our former neighbors. So they gave us a call and they informed us that there was water damage in their home that was apparently coming from our unit. So then 2 minutes later, I get a call from my other neighbor. She's not in the neighboring unit, but she gave me a call and she said that there's something going on at our house. There's water all in the street. She said she thought it was because it was raining, but she noticed that it was coming like from all around our property. And so I asked her if our tenants were still there. She said that they left on Saturday morning. She said that a moving truck woke her up, and she said that they had a crew of like 20 people, and they were basically hustling to get out of there quick. And so she knew something was going on. So
Mm, mm, mm. And you could tell that they were very slick about it because if you saw earlier in the clip, the husband came and inspected the property that Friday. So they waited to the last minute to pull this stunt. Very, very, very evil type behavior.
we get in the car and we head to our old rental property, which is about an hour and a half away from where we live, and we get a call from the HOA, and they told us that they suspected that there was foul play. So as we're pulling up to the property, we see water just covering the parking lot. There's water on the
Imagine pulling up to your rental property and you see this.
outside of our house, water surrounding the property, coming out of the side paneling. The fire alarm is going off. We open the door and there is water everywhere. The entire first and second level is completely covered with water. It's seeping through everything, and basically the ceiling is caving in. So the fire department had to come to shut the alarm off, and they pointed out where Caitlin and Kathleen had actually unscrewed the toilet and damaged the pipe to where they could tell that it was intentionally done. We saw where both of the pipes on both toilets.
Let's just pause right there. You got to think about how evil of a person, how demonic of an individual you have to be psychologically to purposely sabotage a unit like this. And basically, this water was running the whole weekend. So I mean, they moved out Saturday morning. So they either did this right before they left, or right. That's essentially what happened. They did this right before they moved out, and so all of Saturday, all of Sunday, and it wasn't until the water level got so much that it started to seep into the neighboring units and outside that they got the phone call on Monday.
Toilets were destroyed, and the water was turned on so basically it would run and flood the place. So they completely destroyed our home to the point where it is uninhabitable. And
And you got to think about it. This is probably a minimum of tens of thousands of dollars um, just to their unit. Again, we're not sure about the damage caused to the neighboring properties. This is, not, they're going to have to sue these individuals. I mean, so they're going to have to occur legal fees. So we're talking a minimum, at least 10 G's. I mean, this is probably going to be more, maybe 20, 30,000. I'm no contractor, but it's definitely not going to be cheap when it comes to replacing the ceiling, replacing all that flooring. Again, we're talking very, very expensive, and this is going to come out of pocket. So when one big thing you always hear people say, invest in real estate. It's passive income, wealth builder, all these certain catchphrases. They don't mention instances like this where you can have tenants from hell who purposely sabotage your unit or for really no real valid reason, and you're left to pick up the pieces of the puzzle.
And not only that, but the neighbor's home is now destroyed. And, me personally, I'm not understanding how anyone could do this to someone's home, especially when my husband was nothing but accommodating and professional with them.
Again, nothing short of pure evil. Pure evil. Again, no way you could be right in the mind and do this to someone's property.
And it really, honestly, just takes it a step further when Caitlin, who works for Atrium as a PA on
Wow. So this is Caitlin right here, emergency medicine physician assistant. So this is a woman who actually supposedly supposed to help people, help them get better. And this is the mindset. This is how evil of an individual that you're dealing with here. I mean, Again, if she was to do this to a property, who's to say potentially what she may do to a patient who may not agree with a medical diagnosis or may not agree with her treatment plan, what she may possibly do to that tenant out of spite.
Emergency would think it was a good idea to create a safety hazard and a fire hazard in a unit attached to other homes where there are children and elderly people living literally next door. And then following the incident, when we called them regarding the flood, they stated that they were not going to talk about it and that they just wanted to return their keys back. So obviously,
This sense of entitlement. You flood somebody's place out. You don't want to discuss anything. And hey, screw your place, but hey, I just want to drop these keys off. Wow.
audacity is running at an all-time high on this Tuesday, and it's in moments like these when I'm reminded that while God is real, demons are too, because this is nothing but demonic behavior to intentionally vandalize someone's home to the point where we can no longer enter the property, let alone have somebody live there. All of the time and the money and the investment is, gone and wasted. This was truly an act of pure evil, and these two people really need to be held accountable for their actions. And it's truly a shame that anyone could really do something like this. On our end, we have filed a police report. We have contacted their employers. We'll continue to keep you updated as we document the progression of all of this. We've, of course, contacted our lawyers. It's an unfortunate and an unnecessary situation. And while it's a huge hit, we're just trusting in God and remaining positive. And we just ask for your continued prayers during this time. But ultimately, we know that everything will work out for the better. So I hope that your Tuesday is happier than ours is. But that's it for season 1, episode 1. Catch y'all on episode 2.
Again, she's spot on. Like I said, this is pure demonic behavior, and I'm glad they retained a lawyer and are going to go after him. The one silver lining I will say with this story is the fact that at least she does have a pretty good career. So she is at least making decent money. So again, hopefully when they do get this judgment put in place, they can follow up with getting her wages garnished. They know where she's working at. They know everything about her from top to bottom, so they should be able to recoup this money over time. Again, like I said, this type of individual honestly shouldn't even have a job in the healthcare profession, especially as a physician assistant. Again, if this type of sense of entitlement and demonic type behavior to vandalize someone's property just because you couldn't get your way, I definitely would not want a nurse, a doctor, physician assistant, nurse practitioner, anybody of that sort handling any type of healthcare concerns for me or my family. But let me know what you think in the comments below. To my landlords, let me know in the comments below your stories involving tenants vandalizing your property or any type of sabotage or get back when it was time to move out. Let me know in the comments below. I look forward from hearing from you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.